ninth grade. Today we're going to be learning about photosynthesis together, okay? So really exciting stuff. To start today, I want everybody to take out their laptops and look up the definition of photosynthesis, okay? Look up the definition of photosynthesis. You can do this together if you would like, okay? Talk about it, engage with it. Try to find some resources if you have time, all right? I will be walking around the room to check on students, make sure that they are looking at their laptops and looking up the definition, and like engaging with them and asking them questions about what they think it means at this time. Okay, so would anybody like to share what their definition of photosynthesis is? Grace.
I found that it was the process by which plants, algae, and bacteria convert light energy into chemical energy using sunlight, water, CO2, which produces the glucose and oxygen.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of words. Let's put that on the board right here to see, so everybody can see the same definition. Okay, so if you didn't hear Grace, she said it's a chemical process that occurs in plants, algae, and some types of bacteria when they're exposed to sunlight. During photosynthesis, water and carbon dioxide combine to form carbohydrates and give off oxygen. That's the one I found is quite similar to the one Grace found. And that's like super, super complicated, okay? Like so many words and just, there's so many parts of this that we have to break down. Like, what are we going to do? So, I was thinking that maybe we should just look at the word itself, okay? So, we're looking at the word photosynthesis. Back one still. So, if we're looking at the word photosynthesis, there's two parts of the word, okay? There's the word photo. And then there's the word synthesis. Okay? So I hope everybody can see that on the blackboard. It says photosynthesis. When we think of photo, what do we think of? If you're taking a photo, raise of hands here, how many of you use your flash? Okay, yeah, a lot of you, right? Because we need, like, the light in our photos to get good quality. So if we know that it takes light to make a good photo, what do you think photo might mean? And you can use your context clues from our definition here, okay? Let's talk together and maybe discuss what you think photo means in the word photosynthesis. I would let the groups have a few minutes to discuss this, and then I would move on. Okay, so raise of hands if you think photo in this sense, in this context, means picture. Okay, raise of hands if you think photo in this sense means light. Okay. Raise a hand if you think photo in this sense means to do something. Okay, so it looks like we have a pretty general consensus that the word photo, and you guys are all correct, the word photo in photosynthesis does indeed mean light. Okay? Does mean light. All right, now we have to look at part 2 of our word, synthesis. What do we think synthesis is? All right, give an example here. Synthesis. I synthesized all of my flour in one container. I synthesized all of my flour into one container. With that hint, And what we know about our definition here in the second part, water and carbon dioxide combine to form carbohydrates and give off oxygen. Those two clues, I want you to talk together on what you think synthesis means in photosynthesis, okay? So use our context clues to figure that out. I would give the students time to talk, and then I would move on. Okay, raise of hand. Somebody from the audience, would you like to share what they think synthesis means? Jack?
I think it means just like combining together, putting it together.
Right, synthesis means to combine together. Great job, combine together. So, in our definition here, we know that photo means light and synthesis means to put together. Great job, guys, to put together. Alrighty. So now we have a rough idea. We have part of a definition that we kind of understand but is a little complicated. But we know what the word itself, the two word parts, we know what they mean. So that's our second hint to figuring out what photosynthesis means. Okay? Let's come up with our own definitions now. You're going to work together with your friends, and you're going to come up with your own definition of photosynthesis, okay? It doesn't have to be long. It could be short. However you want to depict it. It could be a picture of photosynthesis. We have one on the board. This is a good hint. This will also help you in your definition. It could be a word definition. You could act it out with your friends. Anything you would like that helps you remember or that tells somebody else what photosynthesis means, okay? So you have about 5 minutes to do that. During this time, I would walk around the room, engage with students, ask them questions, help direct them if there was anybody going the wrong direction, they have the wrong idea. And help keep them on track and just engage with the class at that time and do the mop. I would paint the floor blue, as you would say. Okay, so let's hear what each group has to say, okay? So everybody share their definitions. You can use your whiteboards to share your definition, okay? So everybody hold up their whiteboards so I can see your definition. Okay, good. Excellent picture, guys. Excellent picture. That's great. You can hold that up for the rest of the class to see. Wow. Good job. Okay. Was anybody took the route to show photosynthesis, like act it out? No? Okay, that's okay. That's all right. That's a little tricky. I understand. That could be a little tricky to act out photosynthesis, I think. Okay. Really good job, guys. Really good job, guys. It seems like we all kind of had a similar idea. So I put a definition. I came up with my own definition of photosynthesis that I thought was good, okay? So I'm going to share that. So first off, I have the photosynthesis equation here based off of our last slide. It gave us a little bit of an equation. I broke it down. And some of you had this equation, which means some of you had seen this before, which is excellent. That's good that you're at least a little familiar with the equation of photosynthesis because it really helps us break down the definition too. So, and then my definition here, if you can't read the board, it says photosynthesis is how plants make their own food, which is glucose, using sunlight, water, and air, and they turn these into energy and release oxygen, okay? So to me, that's a lot less wordy, right? That's a little bit easier to digest. So our key components of photosynthesis here, if we follow our equation and follow our definition together, we know that for photosynthesis to happen, right? For photosynthesis to happen, we have to have carbon dioxide and water going into the plant and solar energy. Carbon dioxide, water, and solar energy have to go into the plant. Then photosynthesis happens in the plant, and coming out of the plant is sugar. It doesn't actually excrete. You can't see sugar crystals, but it makes sugar for the plant to survive and grow, and it makes oxygen. Oxygen is what it expels. And what do we breathe? On the count of 3, everybody shout out what we breathe. 1, 2, 3.
Oxygen.
Oxygen, right. Okay, so that's really cool. Plants are apparently super important. So let's get into some examples about photosynthesis, okay? This is our first example. All right, I'll read it to you if you can't see. I have a sunflower that has been growing rapidly in my garden after all these rainstorms and warm sunny days. Okay, so let's break that down together. So we know we have a sunflower. Is a sunflower a plant?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, exactly. A sunflower is a plant. So we can check that off. That's pretty good. We're dealing with a plant, so we automatically know that photosynthesis might be taking place. That's a really good hint, right? Now, let's see if the sunflower is getting everything for the photosynthesis equation, and we'll determine if it's photosynthesis or not, okay? So it says it's been growing rapidly. When we say growing rapidly, that must mean that the plant is making energy, right? So we can check that off. So it's making glucose. It's making sugar to grow, all right? So we have a plant and it's growing. So that's 2 parts of our equation. It says after all these rainstorms, okay? Rainstorms. So if we're having rainstorms, we know that the plant is getting water, okay? So now, let's start writing these things down. How's that? Okay, so we have plant. We have lots of parts of our definition. Needs to be a plant, right? Needs to have water. Needs to have sunlight. And it needs to have air, right? But air is kind of easy to come by. And by air, we actually mean CO2, carbon dioxide. Okay, and what's the last thing we're forgetting here? What else? I think I just named it. Can somebody remind me? Allie, can you remind me? What's the last thing that we need?
We need...
What helps them grow? What helps the plant grow? Okay, a little bit of radio silence here. That's okay. That's all right. We need glucose, right? It's the byproduct. So the plant can grow. Okay, so these are our 5 markers, all right? Let's go back to our example. We already said it's a plant. We know sunflower is a plant. We also know that it's been raining a lot, so it's getting some water. It's growing, so we know that it's making some glucose here. Okay, it's making glucose. And we know that it's a sunflower and it's in my garden, so it's obviously getting some air. So the last thing, it says warm sunny days. If we have warm sunny days, does that mean that the plant's getting sun? Shout it out for me. 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Yes, the plant is absolutely getting some sunlight in the summer. Okay, so if we hit all our markers here, would this be an example of photosynthesis? Everybody write it on their whiteboards. Be ready to hold it up in 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay, good. Yes. This is absolutely an example of photosynthesis, all right? And we're going to use the same checklist over and over again to go through our examples, okay? Let's go to our next example. All right. This is not an example of photosynthesis, and we're going to go through why. All right, let me read it to you. Sally has a rabbit in her garden that has grown tremendously over this summer of short rainy nights and long sunny days. Is her rabbit practicing photosynthesis? Let's see. Okay, so what's our first hint? What's our first hint in this problem? First hint. Alex.
Is it a plant?
Is it a plant? That's a good question. Are rabbits plants? Are rabbits plants, guys? No, they're not plants. Okay, so that doesn't hit. All right. It says it's growing. The rabbit's getting bigger. So if the rabbit's getting bigger, is it getting energy? Is it getting sugar? Yeah, probably. It's living in a garden. It's probably eating all those strawberries. So it is getting sugar. There's glucose in our equation here. Figured that one out, okay? And then it says rainy nights and sunny days. So that marks off our next two. H2O, and it's getting sunlight, and if it's living at all anywhere in the earth, it's obviously getting some air, some CO2, okay? So up here, if you can't see, that means that we have every part of our photosynthesis equation. Every single part, except what part? What part are we missing? Write it on your board. We have it up here, but everybody write on their board what part that they're missing. What part we are missing from our equation. Okay, hold it up. Great job, great job. We're missing plant because a rabbit's not a plant, that's an animal, okay? We're missing plant. So if one of these things is not happening, even one of those things is not happening, that means that we don't have photosynthesis happening, okay? So in this case, it's a non-example. Photosynthesis can't be happening without the organism being a plant, all right? Let's go to our next one. Here's an example. This is weird, right? We're not doing a problem anymore, but instead we just see a picture. Okay, so let's look at the picture and decide whether we think this is photosynthesis. All right, is it a plant? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, it's a plant. Is it? Plants get water outside. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Absolutely, plants get water outside because it rains. It rains. They suck up all the groundwater after it rains. Okay, do plants get sunlight outside? Most of the time, right here in PA, most of the time we get some sunlight, especially in the summer, okay? So yes, if our plant's outside here, is it getting CO2? Is it getting some air? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Absolutely, it's getting some air. Okay, if we have all of those things and we have some really tall trees that have definitely grown, is our plant making glucose? Absolutely. Okay, so we have all our markers here. What does that mean? Shout it out. 1, 2, 3. It's photosynthesis. Good job, guys. Let me hear it one more time. 3, 2, 1. Photosynthesis. Okay. Let's move on now that we have went over some examples. All right. I want you guys to talk together amongst yourselves and come up with your own definition again, but there's a twist. You can only use Gen X language, okay? You can only use Gen X language. I know you all have your very own weird, quirky sayings going on. I hear them all the time, like, what the sigma? I don't even know what that means, but you know what that means, and that's what's important, okay? So come up with your own definition of photosynthesis. I would give them time to talk, and I'll be circulating the room again, engaging with them at this time, making sure that they're on task, and answer any questions that they have. Okay. Would anybody like to share their definition? Would any group really like to share their definition? Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Grace?
Alright, photosynthesis is when CO2, some Sunny D, and H2O shimmy themselves into plants to jazz them up to make glucose and O2.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so we have CO2. She kind of made it equation style. CO2, Sunny D. I don't know what that is. I mean, I know what the drink is, but I don't know if that has any other meaning. What's the next thing?
And H2O.
H2O. All right. What else?
Makes glucose and O2.
Okay. Was there any weird? I think I heard some cool slang in there.
Oh, it shimmies them. It shimmies into the plants to jazz them up.
Shimmies into plant to jazz them up. Okay. That's a great definition. Let's see if we have all of our markers here. Okay. We have plant, right? Shimmies them into the plant. Check. We have H2O. Check. We have Sunny D, which I'm assuming is sunlight. Check. We have CO2. Check. And glucose, it says jazz them up. I get pretty jazzed when I have sugar, right? So check. That's a great definition, guys. Alrighty. Let's move on and do the next thing, alright? So we're going to do some practice together. Now, I need you to answer, okay? So the first one, the ivy on the fence has been thriving lately, absorbing sunlight and carbon dioxide to produce glucose, helping it grow and spread. All right, take some time to make your checklist here and be ready. Tell me if that's an example or non-example. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That is an example, right? That is an example because we have a plant, ivy's in plant. We have absorbing sunlight, CO2, right? So sunlight and CO2 are checked off. It's probably getting water because it's outside. And it's growing so that we know it's making glucose. All right, next one. Rob has an aloe plant that he keeps in his desk drawer and only waters. He's confused why it's not growing. Take a few minutes. All right, would somebody like to come up and check off or deny whether we're dealing with a plant? Okay. They would come up and do this part, but just for the purpose of demonstration. So we have a plant, right? Because it's an aloe plant. He keeps it in his desk drawer. That's awfully weird. I don't know if his ex gave him this plant or what, but weird, right? Okay, so if he's keeping it in his desk drawer, is it getting sunlight? No. All right, he says he only waters it. So we know it's getting water. We know it's getting air automatically. And it says it's not growing. So if it's not growing, what does that mean? It's not making glucose. So is this an example? Thumbs up, thumbs down. No, this is not an example. All right, last two. Is a rose bush an example of photosynthesis? A rose bush. Let's think about what we know about rose bushes and decide whether this is an example. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, it is an example because it's a plant. It's getting water. It's getting sunlight. getting air and it's making glucose. Almost every plant goes through photosynthesis, unless in a certain situation where it's specified that it's not getting part of the photosynthesis equation. That's the only time that it's not going through photosynthesis. And even then, you know, in biology, there's always exceptions. Even then, if it's not getting part of the equation, doesn't mean it's not going through photosynthesis. It just means it's going through photosynthesis at a very, very slow rate to conserve its energy. Okay? But for now, let's just stick with our general understanding. There are exceptions to every rule. Okay, last one. Eagle. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs down. Why? Write it on your whiteboards. Why? Right, because it's an animal. Absolutely, it's an animal, so it can't go through photosynthesis. We know that for sure. Now work together and come up with your own example, okay? You have about a couple minutes to come up with your own example, however you want to express it, all right? I'll give them time, go around the room, talk to them, and then move on. Okay, I'm going to share my examples. And I want you all to come up on the board and share your examples too, okay? You're gonna you can draw it on the blackboard here or the whiteboard over there, wherever. You're gonna put your examples up in the room too. But here's mine. We have grass and a grasshopper. Grass is an example, right? Because it's a plant. It's getting all those things of our equation. So that's good. That grass is pretty green. And we have grasshopper. This is a no because he's an insect. And insects don't do photosynthesis, okay? Alrighty, thank you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.